every day.
The thoughts and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the program's participants and do not necessarily represent those of station staff, management, and advertisers.
We are the Bears, shuffling crew, shuffling on down, do it for you. We're so bad, we know we're good, blowing your mind like we knew we would. You know we're just strutting for fun, strutting our stuff for everyone.
Well, you guys know I'm starting with none other than the Super Bowl Shuffle. If I'm not mistaken, this was from the 85 Bears, let's say. I'm going to say the 85 Bears. What's that? Oh, we're working out the microphone situation here. Just really working it out. Go ahead on that one.
This one right here?
Oh,
I got it.
You got it?
We're good.
We're good.
We're good.
We're good.
There we are.
We never worried about it.
I was going to say, that's the only Bears team I think warrants a song named after them, right?
You're probably right about that. All right. So we got a lot going on today. I should probably introduce myself too.
Maybe.
Dude, we're so loosey-goosey today. We're just looking to change the world
We're
tonight.
spitballing, yeah.
we're just rolling with the punches. What's going on, guys? It's your boy Spencer. I'm here with Delivering Sports for a very special Super Bowl edition. We'll be going down to that, but I'm not going to spend the entire show on the Super Bowl. I think that's a little overblown. I think everybody kind of does their entire show off the Super Bowl, but I'm not going to ignore it, obviously. The one thing I wanted to start off with the Super Bowl, by the way, other than the fact that I'm Spencer Ostrowski, host of the Delivering Sports Show, and that's Kevin Kelly, who you're hearing on the other side of that microphone, is the Super Bowl doesn't feel as exciting this year. Do you feel that same way, or is it just me? It could just be me.
Yeah, I'm not really. I'm not super jazzed on the Super Bowl, which is bizarre because I think in normal circumstances, it's also very easy to point out why people are like not super jazzed for the Super Bowl. Any other season, Patrick Mahomes taking on Tom Brady, who had just turned a 7-9 team into a Super Bowl contender, like a legitimate Super Bowl contender. Actually, that is that you might have to sell that on pay-per-view, man. You can't even put that on network television. That's like a pay-per-view Super Bowl. And I think COVID has really sapped a lot of life out of the NFL season, sports in general.
Yeah, I'm gonna pose this to you, and I'm gonna challenge anybody to call in right now as we speak, 702-221-7283. This is the greatest Super Bowl of all time. On paper. I'm not going to say it's going to be the greatest game of all time. Can you name one other Super Bowl in your lifetime that you can think was more exciting? Old Tom Brady, has gone through 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks in his run to the Super Bowl. And now he's potentially facing what people call the GOAT, of like the guy to replace him as the GOAT. It doesn't get better than this, right?
If you wanted to sell one football game to a person for the rest of time, it would probably be this one.
Yeah. So whose fault is it? Is it really? I feel like the easy answer is that it's COVID. The COVID is the reason that we're not as excited for this football game. I'm not buying that for some reason.
I don't know. It is difficult because it's hard to relish in the fact that the Buccaneers are the first ever team to play in their home stadium.
Yeah, that's also a part of it.
But the fact that it is going to be at 1/3 capacity does take a lot of that out.
That's what it
takes
is
a lot
for
of
you?
the wind out of the sails of that. Like that kind of encapsulates the entire situation there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like this monumental thing happened. Like, the Vikings tried to do it a couple years ago when the Super Bowl was going to be held in Minnesota, and now like the Bucs are the first team to actually reach that milestone. And like, I don't know, like it's probably not going to happen for a really long time after this either, because it is such a rare occurrence to happen in the first place. But the fact that like it's not going to be teeming with Buccaneers fans and the Bucs aren't going to have like this super crazy mega home field advantage because of that does kind of like, it's a bummer. It's definitely a bummer.
That's a unique take on it. To me, I never thought about that. And I can't pinpoint what it is. You know what? I think it's about life. I'm going to get all philosophical right here, right now, live on the radio.
What even is football?
I watched it. I sent you this video too. It was this like tape of these kids in high school in the 1980s. God, dude, they were so
carefree.
Free. Like life just was way more fun back in the day.
They didn't have to worry about who was saying what about them on Twitter or anything like that.
You think it's social media? Is social media ruined the Super Bowl?
I'm saying it's no one thing, obviously.
It's TikTok. I get it.
Jackson Mahomes is the reason, man. Yeah. Patrick Mahomes' little brother is the reason.
Yeah, he's taking all the fun out of life, but I don't want to get too crazy and start getting all Debbie Downer. But I do feel like there's been a bit of sail taken out of like just the human spirit. I feel like is a little down right now. And hopefully, if this game is amazing, it'll spark something very much like we were hoping that a spark of life would hit Aaron Rodgers if he made it to the Super Bowl. But we'll never know if he'll ever be excited about being alive again.
I think one thing you can kind of say is that in a normal setting, you would have all of these players being singularly focused on one thing, and that was obviously winning the Super Bowl. Now you have to focus on not getting COVID, which is apparently in the NFL incredibly difficult to not get COVID because like people have been getting COVID on a weekly basis for the past 16, 17 weeks. And so like there's a lot of just stuff floating around in the air around this game. And it's hard to focus. It's hard to focus. Quite literally, we have an airborne pandemic going on right now. And it's hard to focus on the game itself.
Yeah, and it just seems to be getting worse and worse for the Chiefs. We'll talk about that for a second. There's one thing I want to talk about specifically with the Super Bowl before we go on, though. If Tom Brady wins this, I'm not saying he's well. I'm not even saying that they're favored. They're not favored, like from the sportsbook perspective. But if he does do this, there is no argument for the rest of time on who is the greatest quarterback ever. Because no matter what Patrick Mahomes does after this, even if he ends his career with more Super Bowls, which I don't think he'll do because he's making $40-50 million a year at the towards the end of his contract, because most NFL contracts for big quarterbacks, like even like Derek Carr, you take less on the front end for Super Bowl runs, and on the back end, you get paid all the money. He's getting paid. It's like 40, 50, 50, 40, 40, 40, something like that. They are not going to win that many Super Bowls because the reason Tom Brady, I'm speaking so fast, dude, I'm like hyped.
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on.
The Super Bowl.
It's the big game, brother. No, but like if he even has more Super Bowls than him, which he won't, like he still lost to old man Brady. And I'm not even saying like narratives get lost in translation. Let's say that Tom Brady has a much worse game than Mahomes, but they still win. That will be forgotten in the lineages. Like in a decade from now, no one will say, "Oh, but what he didn't play that well in the Super Bowl." Some people may say that, obviously, but for the most part, it doesn't matter who plays better in this game. It matters who wins the game.
Yeah, because the narrative will kind of like determine how we remember the game. Like no one's gonna like unless there is like a historic play, like in the terms of like it lives on in the pantheon of incredible Super Bowl plays like the helmet catch and Santonio Holmes and all of that kind of stuff. Like unless there's a play like that, they're going to like think about like the Peyton Manning Cam Newton Super Bowl, the Panthers and the Broncos. Peyton Manning did not play well that game. He was a pedestrian in that game. That game is remembered as Cam Newton like was they cut him down to size. And I think yeah, like you said, it's not particular. Like Tom Brady does not have to outplay Patrick Mahomes. He probably wouldn't in his wildest dreams anyway.
Yeah.
Right. But if he wins and they kind of like, and there's some kind of there's something definitive about the win, that is what people are going to remember.
Yeah. So we're going to get into a little bit of the game now. We'll start with the injury bug that's hit this first, and then we'll talk about another outside element that's even worse that just came out like probably like a couple hours ago. So the starting center and Eric Fisher, their left tackle, will be out for the game. That was reported today.
That's a blow for sure.
That's huge because let's look at the guys on the defensive line for the Buccaneers. The Dominican Sue, Jason Pierre-Paul. I can't think of the kid's name. The linebacker, like 20 sacks last year. Yeah, Shaq Barrett. I'm not saying all of them are going to eat this game, but the fact that you have two guys, one of them is Steph Newski, who used to play for the Raiders. They drafted him. That's the only reason I know that. The other one, I have no idea. I'm not saying Patrick Mahomes isn't going to be able to evade them to an extent, but that could sway the game, in my opinion, like those two injuries alone.
In my vanity as a Steelers fan this season, as probably like one of the top pass rushing defenses in the league, you got to keep tabs on the other pass rushing defenses in the league. The Bucs are legit. Like they were prone to some inconsistent play, like on both sides of the ball at points throughout the season. But personnel wise, Jason Pierre-Paul is playing like incredible this year. I don't understand how Jason Pierre-Paul is. He's having a resurgence this year. Obviously, Shaq Barrett is one of the best off the edge rushers in the NFL. Like they have the personnel to take advantage of a weaker offensive line for the Chiefs. So that's why I'm saying, like, while the Chiefs in my opinion, it's their game to lose. Like they could definitely lose it if they are not careful, if they are not prudent.
Yeah, and I want to say thank you to Akil Santiago on Twitter. He chimed in and said, we just don't want any controversy by the refs. I don't think any of us want that.
Oh, God.
For the most part, I would say during the last few Super Bowls, we haven't had any controversial plays. You can go back to the NFC Championships, AFC. Okay, now we're talking about a little bit of craziness, but I don't think any Super Bowl recently has been decided because of a penalty.
No, it really does come down to, I don't think, I think the biggest, most controversial call you've had in a Super Bowl was Super Bowl 40. When that one Ben Roethlisberger trying to break the plane, that was the only thing that was really controversial.
Right.
That's the only thing I can remember.
Really.
That was because that was it was a 1-score game at that point, and that kind of sealed the game at that point, I think. And so that's the only time I can really remember where a call was kind of up in the air. Usually the Super Bowl gives us a definitive answer. Usually it's kept. And I don't think the refs want to be. I don't think the refs want to be in the position either to be it's all eyes on them for sure. It is literally the refs Super Bowl too. So
yes, and they get. Plus, the reason why I think the game is so good, and I think it's obvious why the reason so good, is because they're handpicked. So the better they are,
special Super Bowl
as they
squad,
review the tape after every game, and they kind of pick the hand pick the team.
Yeah, so we have the NFL's best for
right. So I'm glad, and that was a really good comment. And again, if you guys want to call in and talk, or you guys can keep chiming in on social media, I really appreciate that. The number to call is 702-221-7283. You guys can talk about the Super Bowl. We're going to be talking about the All-Star game, the NBA. We're going to go through it all. But so let's keep going on with the Super Bowl talk for now. I want to talk about position battles and where you think who has the advantage. We'll start with the QB position. Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes. Who has the advantage? Not who's better. Who do you think has the edge in this matchup?
It's very easy to just say Patrick Mahomes, obviously, because I don't think any single quarterback has the advantage over Patrick Mahomes going just raw skill. And obviously they have figured out how to maximize him in an offense. I think, and when you're going head to head like that and you're comparing quarterbacks, there's very few throughout the pantheon of history that I would take over Patrick Mahomes. So I think definitely they have the quarterback matchup. I think that they have the advantage is the Chiefs.
I'll just agree with you there. I'm going to say the advantage goes to the Buccaneers simply because this guy's been to 10 Super Bowls, man.
Sure.
If anyone has an edge on knowledge or I don't know, playing up to the moment, making sure your teammates are all on the same page. Plus, we've seen a little bit of wishy-washy stuff go on with the Chiefs. So
sure.
I'm going to say the advantage is with Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. This guy knows how to get it done. He's gotten it done. I don't like the guy, of course. I'm a Raiders fan, but I'm not going to deny this guy's greatness and what he's done, for the NFL. Obviously, he's done something right in his career to make it happen. So, and especially Patrick Mahomes is also injured a little bit. We know he's not 100%. And we're not going to go over the offensive line because clearly the advantage goes to the offensive line for the Buccaneers. So I think that's a part of the equation if we're not even going to talk about the offensive line.
The big question is skill players here.
Yeah, so let's do running backs first. You tell me. In my opinion, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is just the next Noshawn Moreno for the Broncos.
You don't think he's the long-term solution for
No,
them?
I just think if I was the running back for the Chiefs, I'd have a little bit of success because if you got Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce running around, now is he a terrible running back? No, he's not. Is he as good as Ronald Jones or Leonard Fournette? I'm going to say no. What say you, sir?
I agree. I definitely think, especially because Leonard Fournette has kind of played it up to back, not quite to the level he was at in his prime in Jacksonville, but he has turned into a far more serviceable back than people initially, I think, wrote him off just, after his time in Jacksonville and the way everything ended over there. And then now coming into a system where they have Ronald Jones was pretty solidified in that top back spot. And now at certain points of the season, they have kind of traded, they've kind of been vying for those carries, the lion's share of the carries. And I think, in certain weeks, Leonard Fournette has won that competition out and been effective.
Yeah. And every playoff run, you're going to have a guy who just, for whatever reason,
playoff Lenny, man.
Yeah. It just kind of hits you in the right way. And they actually have a defensive back on Tampa Bay as well, who's doing that. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but still it catches the bug for some guys. And I think it's caught Leonard Fournette. Do I think he's going to win Super Bowl MVP? That's a little bit of a stretch. I don't even know the last time a running back won Super Bowl MVP. Not recently, at least. So it's usually a defensive guy, a quarterback,
If Tom Brady, if a Tom Brady team wins the Super Bowl, are they allowed to give it to anyone other than Tom Brady?
We're going to talk about in a second, so keep that in mind. But I want to go back over just one more. We're going to keep this going with skill position, receivers / tight end. I'm going to tell you the list of names for the Buccaneers. I know Antonio Brown is questionable as well, so keep that in mind.
I'm pretty sure he's going to play.
Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, Rob Gronkowski, Chris Godwin. I mean, that's a pretty extensive list, but
Spencer, I'm gonna look you dead in your face
right
now and tell you that the Chiefs' skill position players are better.
Better?
Not far better, but I would rather have them coming into this game. I would rather have Tyreek Hill having the season he's having and Travis Kelce having the season that he is having over an amalgam over my embarrassment of riches over in Tampa Bay.
So you saying if it was up to Tom Brady, he would switch out the skill players for this game specifically?
No. I'm not saying that. I think both of these skill position groups best fit their current quarterback, but I just think the combination of Hill, Kelce, and Mahomes is better than the combination of Brady, Gronk, Evans, Godwin, and Brown.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. It's crazy. Like, how many other teams would you say are better than the Buccaneers in that position? It's a pretty darn short list. Off the top of my head, I can't think of any.
Well, that's what like there's always I think the issue of like, Mike Evans is concerned about getting his fair share of touches or whatever. I think that will obviously become less of an issue in the singular game of the Super Bowl, but that has been something that they have not really been able to nail down as the season has progressed. And it's not like, I think Gronk is still obviously your red zone threat, but Gronk is not the Gronk of old. Gronk is not the Gronk that we saw when we were calling him the greatest tight end of all time.
We're going to play a little bit of Jeopardy here because I'm going to make one of the biggest bold claims of the Super Bowl. I'm going to guess who I'm thinking of here. So we know Patrick Mahomes is not 100%. So I believe there's going to be one player who's going to make a move that may put Patrick Mahomes out for either the whole game or an extended period of time.
This
is a guy who was known as the dirtiest player in the NFL for about 10 years, kind of under the radar. He does play for the Buccaneers, and there's a prop bet on will there be a roughing the passer, and I'm going to say absolutely yes, and plus you can get really good plus odds on that. Who do you think I'm thinking of here?
So you think Sue is going to hit a lick on Mahomes?
Hey, come on, man. Do we often forget this guy stepped on people like in his heyday? Now, is he the same arrogant best defensive tackle in the league that he once was before Aaron Donald stepped in? Because he was the best defensive tackle in the league for a very long time. I'm saying it's very possible, and I'm saying it could happen like in the first quarter.
I don't know. I think Ndamukong Suh has chilled out a little bit, but I also wouldn't put it past him. I wouldn't be surprised if there is here's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to pigeonhole Ndamukong Suh as a dirty player or whatever like that. You can have your opinion on him. I'm personally not going to say whether or not I think he's a dirty player, but it would not surprise me if there is a roughing the passer call during the Super Bowl and Ndamukong Suh is penalized. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. So that's one of my big surprise. There's one other element. There's two other elements in this game that I think this one sways a huge opinion of mine. So an assistant coach, I forget his first name, but it's Reed. It was his son. He's an assistant coach of the team. Got into a car accident today, and he was with his two sons, and one of them is actually in critical condition. So first of all, before I go any further in this topic, prayers out for them, man. Like, obviously, that's horrible. Now, the reports also said that he was drinking while his kids were in the car. He had admitted that he had a few drinks or whatever, a couple drinks. That's horrible. I'm not saying he crashed because of that. It could have literally been like just a couple of drinks or whatever. Who knows? You should never drink and drive, period. Not even one. But we don't know the full story yet. It just came out. But still, that's his son and that's his grandkid. Do you think that could actually be a factor in the Super Bowl, or is he like so able to separate family from football?
I don't know. Andy Reid always struck me as a football guy, but I don't know. That is always like on a case by case basis, and you have to. I feel like you have to know someone personally in order to kind of, get into their psyche and see how that would affect, them. And so I definitely think, that weighs heavily on someone's mind. That would weigh heavily on anybody's mind, especially in such a high pressure situation. So the main thing I'm hoping for is that everybody involved makes it out okay.
Yeah, it's kind of scary, man. Like, I think this could legitimately cause a few disruptions during the Super Bowl. So more and more reporting is coming out because Sammy Watkins is also questionable for the game about what is truly going to make a factor here. And there's one other one. It's actually Mother Nature. I think there's like a 60% chance there's going to be rain during this game. And before I ask you if you think rain is going to actually do anything about this, first of all, we got to get rid of weather in football, dude. This is ridiculous.
Why is weather a factor?
Why are there snow games? Why are there windy games? Have you ever watched a windy game, like when they play against Cleveland? Like, man, this is awesome. I love that there's just different conditions, drastically different conditions.
Just watching the wind push a football just as far away from the goalposts as possible.
This is ancient thinking, man. Put a dome on these buildings. We do snow games, dude. I guess it's good aesthetically, and I watch like back in the day. Wow, now I feel old because I used to watch ESPN 3D. I was a really big fan of it.
Oh yeah,
there was a soccer game in 3D. Awesome, really good stuff.
I remember. Okay, so I would love to get numbers on like the stadiums that have been built in recently, and how many of those are open roof stadiums. Because I would venture to say like it's a small percentage of them, because the most recent ones I can think of are SoFi in LA and Allegiant here in Vegas. Both of those are closed roof stadiums. So like I think everyone is trying to make a conscious effort to be like, let's try and eliminate the weather element of football, because no one really likes when a game everyone loves to watch a snow game until it's time to watch a snow game.
Yeah, until you actually have to like see them plowing snow.
Yeah, until the final score is 9-6.
Yeah, exactly. So with that out of the way, if it does rain and it rains hard, who does the advantage go to?
I don't know. You think? I think it's a moot, because both of those teams are used to playing in the elements. Kansas City is not a stranger to a snow game, and obviously Tampa is in Florida, and it rains all the time in Florida. So I honestly don't think, if it's just rain, I don't see it having a huge heavy bearing on it.
I think it has a massive advantage towards Tampa Bay. Well, you got a complete offensive line. They got Tristan Wirfs in the draft, my second favorite lineman, who's turning out to be the greatest. He's turning out to be the best
lineman of the class.
Yeah, so I was
him and Becton.
Yeah, there's no way he should have ever dropped to that position. I was sick when they took him, by the way. And plus, they're fully healthy. You got Eric Fisher out, and I just don't like Clyde Edwards-Helaire nearly as much as I like Ronald Jones.
Circumstantially, yeah, like this, like it's kind of stacking up against the Chiefs, but again, it's just like I don't see. When you line up next to them, when you line up across the line of scrimmage from them, I still trust the Chiefs as long as their guys are out there and on the field. Yeah. So we're going to wrap up the Super Bowl discussion with our Super Bowl predictions. And then you tell me what your Super Bowl MVP is going to be. I got the Chiefs squeaking it like 34-28. Wow. You think it's going to be a high scoring game? Mm-hmm. It probably will be. I'm going to go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I'm hedging my bet in 7 different ways. I was on a podcast last night, and you've had a different answer everywhere you've been. So I can just pull a clip from wherever I was right and look like a genius. Right? Exactly. And my Super Bowl MVP, Jason Pierre-Paul. Write it down right now. I can get great odds on him being the Super Bowl MVP. Random defensive guys win Super Bowl MVP all the time. Malcolm Smith, Von Miller isn't random, but he is a defensive player. This guy was a Pro Bowler this year. And I just like it because of the offensive line's out. And I think Tampa Bay can absolutely win this game. This is the hardest game I've had to decide all season against the spread. I was about 55%. If you guys don't know, I'm on the Rest Stop podcast. So we were betting against every single game against the spread. We did not miss a game. I was about 55% on the season, which is about where professional sports gamblers lie, which is nice. My Super Bowl MVP. I'm going with Killer. I want Iguodala. No, I'm just kidding. I want Killer Trav, man. I think Travis Kelce goes big. Okay, well. I'm gonna say to that, like, if he has a big game, Patrick Mahomes is probably gonna win Super Bowl MVP. He'd have to do something like spectacular, man. Yeah, well, like, here's the thing. I think Travis Kelce, like, okay, I'll just go crazy then. I think Travis Kelce catches a game-winning touchdown. Go stupid. Go stupid. Yeah, I think Travis Kelce gets a game-winning touchdown. I think you get a game-winning touchdown, you're automatically Super Bowl MVP. That's pretty much happened every time. Yeah, so we're going to keep it in the NFL because that's just our Super Bowl talk. Spend about 30 minutes on that. I'm happy. We're going to move on because there's so much other sports news. Like, delivering sports is about like giving you as much as I can within the hour. That's kind of my goal throughout all of this. And we're going to try to keep it like when you go to work tomorrow and you're at the cooler. Absolutely. And dude, this guy's reading my mind. Thank you so much, T_Wheaton. Hopefully I'm saying that right. I'm so scared about saying that. I said, is Carson Wentz going to get traded? I was just about to say that. We're on the same wavelength as the guys who watch this show. So thank you guys again. And any other comments, I will like put them up there. We'll talk about them. We don't mind. Like,
I'm a very innovative dude. Obviously, I'm like 23 years old doing a radio show, so I'm not here going to be sitting at the microphone, just talking out. I'm obviously streaming this online and everything like that. And if you guys also want to call it, and again, the number is 702-221-7283. I'll bring you right on. We can talk about whatever. But that is a great question. Carson Wentz here is like close to being traded. That's what they're saying. One name that's been involved is the Colts. So we'll go through a little bit of this. Who else could you see grabbing this guy? And do you think he really has anything left in the tank?
Definitely. I definitely think Carson Wentz could go somewhere and Carson Wentz still has MVP caliber talent. I genuinely believe that. I think it's just the situation in Philly became incredibly toxic. It became awkward just because of the Foles stuff. The power balance and the power dynamic in Philly was always kind of out of whack after that Super Bowl win because no one really knew who to attribute it to, because I think everyone kind of felt like they had a hand in that Super Bowl win. I think Carson Wentz feels like he has a hand in that Super Bowl win, obviously, because he got them to that point for the most part. He, did a lot of the heavy lifting during the regular season. Doug Peterson obviously would probably feel like he deserves credit because he called the game. Nick Foles played out of his mind in the Super Bowl. So it's like the whole situation around Philly got really toxic. And I think that it just didn't really lend itself to winning football. It's just playing a winning brand of football. And I think that if Carson Wentz goes to a place that does understand what it means to win, to play winning football and sustain winning football, I think that he can really, he'll probably thrive there because, like I said, there was no kind of ego checking or accountability in Philly. We kind of just let everyone run wild and go off their own power trips. And we see what happened as a result. The Eagles have been a mess this year and will continue to be a mess probably for a while.
Yeah, and Wheaton checked back in his opinion on this. He said he can't bring both quarterbacks back, which I totally agree with. Carson doesn't trust the GM after drafting Hurts. So I was going to ask you this next, and personally, I'll say he needs to go to a smart coach because Carson Wentz isn't very smart. You watch him on football.
He can't be left to his own devices at all.
He can't go to the Saints, that's for sure. That playbook would blow his mind out of the water.
You have to, like I said, Carson Wentz, you have to kind of start from the beginning with him. He's got obviously it takes a long time to learn how to play quarterback in the NFL. You look at Mahomes has gone on record being I didn't really know how to read a defense until my third year starting. And I'm that is just insane because you have a Super Bowl MVP, and it's it's hard to learn how to play quarterback in the NFL. Carson Wentz had a lot of success early on in his career. And people, I think, kind of had this sense of Carson's good. We're good at quarterback. We don't really need to work on that. And we don't need to press flesh on developing the quarterback anymore. We're good. And that wasn't obviously not the case because Carson Wentz still has really, really bad decision-making problems.
Yeah. And so obviously I think I teased this in the beginning, but the Colts were the team that have been the front runners for him so far. It looks like they're pretty close to a
Sounds
deal
like
with him.
Great fit to me too.
So that's what I was going to ask you. Do you think that he could be successful in there? Because Phillip Rivers just was there. He was successful. Let's be honest. A lot of that I think was because he was a veteran quarterback.
He was just old.
Can Carson Wentz contain himself enough to bring this team to the playoffs? Because that division stinks.
I do believe the whole experience in Philly, could have humbled him and that he could come in, obviously it's unless Carson Wentz is completely delusional, which some people would say that he is for how he kind of, looks at himself and his position in the league and on the Eagles. It wouldn't surprise me to say he's has some kind of delusions of grandeur, but I have to trust that he is at the very least somewhat humbled by his experience in Philly.
Okay, so you're liking the fit with the Colts. What do you give up for him? Wheaton says a late first rounder. If you're the Eagles, do you ask more for that? Are you happy about a late first rounder? They picked this guy third overall or something? He was a very early first round pick. What do you get back for him?
His value is just not where it was. It's not of the value of a third overall pick, and that's just plain and simple. I think anyone who kind of wants a higher return for Carson Wentz is kind of playing themselves. Because there is enough tape to see you want that for this, So I'm saying, you have tape on Matt Stafford. You're not gonna give out more than the Rams did for Matt Stafford. That's not gonna happen.
Yeah, so that's a great. We'll segue into that as well because that was kind of our main thoughts on Carson Wentz. We'll see because obviously the trade hasn't happened yet. We're not going to go too far into it, but the one trade that did happen and basically who set the market was Matthew Stafford. So he got traded for like 2 first-round picks, a third-rounder, and Jared Goff was on his way over there as well. How serious are we be taking the Rams right now? And will this trade be worth it for the Rams?
I'm pretty sure they're winning the NFC West next year. I'm almost all but certain they are set up to make a Super Bowl run. I think this is the most set up the Rams have ever been, actually.
Okay, so people are saying it's a huge disappointment if they don't win the Super Bowl next year. Do you agree with that statement? Should it only be an NFC champion?
It's hard to put like Super Bowl expectations on a team. Obviously, with their talent, if you look at the roster, yes, this team can contend for it. It is possible for them to contend. There are a million other factors to consider that, though. You can't just look at a roster and be like, yeah, they're going to go to the Super Bowl. Like, a lot of stuff has to happen. I definitely think they can if things fall the right way. And like I said, a lot of other external factors have to like fall a certain way in order for a team to make the Super Bowl. I definitely think based off their talent that they have on their roster alone, they can make the Super Bowl for sure.
I'm going to tell you right now, it doesn't matter. It does not matter if they go to the Super Bowl because how many teams in the NFL can put themselves in a position to win a Super Bowl in any given year? 3, 4, 5 teams.
You have to do it.
If you have a chance to go to the Super Bowl,
we talk about that all the time.
If you fall flat on your face, it does not matter.
Yep.
Because again, I've been a Raiders fan, obviously, since I was born. They went to the Super Bowl once, and they have been terrible since. They have not had a chance to go to the Super Bowl since they went in 2002 or 2003. The Rams have an opportunity. They didn't think they could get it done with Jared Goff, and now that they do, they're going to make it happen. They can make it happen. Just like when the Buccaneers signed Tom Brady, when the Broncos signed Peyton Manning.
You have to just that's like you never win a Super Bowl by neglecting to push all your chips in.
Yeah.
Like you have to like, if you have the opportunity to do something that will like solidify a chance for you to go to the Super Bowl, like to pretty much put you in that conversation, you have to do it. If you don't do it, it is a fireable offense in my opinion.
Yeah, they were already missing like 5 of their first round picks, and now they don't have the next 8. So let's say whether or not they made this trade, they were going to be missing like 4 or 5 first round picks. So they weren't going to do it with Jared Goff. So what is 2 more first round picks? Because and the reality is, are you going to use that pick on a quarterback? Probably at some point. Is that quarterback going to be ready to bring a team to the Super Bowl? Are you going to draft the next Pat Mahomes? It's not very likely that that's going to be the case.
And you just got to think about this from the perspective of you are getting Matthew Stafford. I understand that we have memed Matthew Stafford in the Detroit Lions since time immemorial, right? Like, but Matthew Stafford is a great quarterback. I'm not saying he's a good quarterback. I'm saying he's a great quarterback. He's a rare, like the old guard prototypical, like pocket passer. He is the last dude like that.
And let's put it in context. If they had traded for Carson Wentz for less, like a second, like 1 first rounder and a second rounder, would we be talking about them potentially going to a Super Bowl next year?
I don't know. I'd probably not. Probably not, because based on, that's putting a lot of faith into Carson Wentz. It's much easier to put my faith into Matthew Stafford because I know he's good, and I know that he's just been in a horrible, unimaginably, petrifyingly terrible situation.
I feel so bad because Brian's listening, but he knows too. He's a tortured Lions
fan. His entire
Brian.
career. I understand. He's the first guy. He's the first guy to get his freedom papers, man.
Yeah.
Calvin Johnson didn't get this opportunity. Barry Sanders. He is going to make I believe that Matt Stafford is going to make the absolute most of that.
If he does win the Super Bowl next year, do you think the Lions just have to disassociate?
They have to disband as a team?
They can't. They have to move somewhere or something like that.
I definitely think you got to rebrand or something, man.
Yeah, you got to
something's got to change.
You got to be like the Lowens or something. You got to split the letters around. Man. You got to change the moniker.
They have to be like the Michigan Superiors or something.
Yeah, something like that, man.
Because that will be shameful, because the Lions have gotten the generational talent has fallen into their lap multiple times, and they've been able to do nothing with it. That's incomprehensible.
If Calvin Johnson was on another team, is he regarded as the greatest receiver of all time? Honestly,
yeah. If he's
would he have a chance? I should say.
Matthew Stafford and Calvin Johnson should have been like the modern day Montana and Rice. That should have just been easily one of the best quarterback wide receiver connections we've ever seen. And it just wasn't, because Detroit they just throw their hands up. They didn't know. They
Jim
just
faced
didn't.
it, man.
They were just they gave you the side eye, and they were just like, I don't know, man. They'll figure it out, I guess.
Yeah, so we'll keep it in the QB trade market. We'll have to see. It's pretty exciting, though. It's great to see Matthew Stafford have a real chance. But one more trade that's been on a rumor around the block is Derek Carr is on the trade block on some level. We haven't really even discussed this in our personal lives, but so there are rumors going around. Deshaun Watson has requested a trade. We know that for sure.
That is confirmed.
And now it is confirmed that Derek Carr, they're going to be listening to trade offers for Derek Carr.
Yeah.
So journalism, it's hit one and they put two together. Boom, maybe Carr goes for Deshaun Watson. What are the chances? We'll start. What are the chances that Carr is traded to the Texans for Deshaun Watson? The trade that has been rumored or that goes around is Derek Carr, Darren Waller, and 2 first-rounders.
That doesn't feel like enough. I gotta be honest. I feel like I need at least 3 first.
Wow, I think that's too much.
Really, for Deshaun Watson,
for like the second best tight end in the league. We'll call a spade a spade. Like I criticize Derek Carr a lot on this show, but he's a franchise quarterback.
Franchise, I don't know.
His stats say franchise.
He's a starting quarterback.
He has put up franchise quarterback numbers.
Any team he is on, like there's a very high chance he is going to be the starter. That's what I'll say. It's just
most teams in the league,
and he can take and you can make the playoffs with Derek Carr.
You can technically make the playoffs with Derek Carr. So that's why I'm saying I think he's like one of the most likely destinations because the Texans don't have their first round pick this year, so they're not getting the next.
They're definitely going to want some skin in this year's draft for sure.
Well, they are, but I'm saying that the Raiders are one of the only teams that can give them back a quarterback who can legitimately start for their team next year.
That I feel I don't know how that is where we get into the realm of like we don't know what the Texans are prioritizing because they may see their next quarterback in the draft.
But they don't have a pick right now.
That's what I'm saying. And so like they may use the whole Watson trade as leverage to try and get in the best position possible to get the quarterback that they have been eyeing in the draft, because that is obviously where any kind of like strategy, if there is a strategy for Houston, because at this point we really don't know if they are just kind of spinning the wheel of fortune and letting that guide all of their decisions. But if they can't, like, I would think that any conversation about giving up Deshaun Watson would start around, like, in my opinion, like the way you're supposed to build a football team is through the draft. Like, and so any conversation around trading your franchise quarterback has to be involved in like, or has to start with, hey, we need to get back into this draft so we can get this guy, Justin Fields or someone like that, you know?
Yeah. So I'll tell you what say in theoretical situation, this trade goes through the Raiders, acquire this generational talent, or all pro guy. Yeah, that's probably a better way of putting it. Does it make a difference for them? Like, does that put them over the hump to make the playoffs?
It definitely kind of like solidifies them in the wild card conversation for sure.
No, it doesn't.
No, you don't think so?
They have the worst defense in the league. I don't care what statistics say. If you have 0 Pro Bowl talent on your defense, you cannot make the playoffs. You can't.
I think
you're not going to win the division. Okay. That's a guarantee. The Chiefs are going to win the division for the next 2 to 3 years. It has to be
the wild card. But I'm saying like slightly improved quarterback play from the Raiders this year gets them in the playoffs.
Was that the reason they didn't make the playoffs?
I'm not saying it was the reason they didn't make the playoffs, but I am saying if there was better quarterback play, they probably would have gotten it.
Oh, I just don't.
You don't think that?
No, I don't think so at all. Actually.
No, because like there's a thing between you and I where we talk about like Derek Carr is like a creature of habit, right? Every time it's one score, you need to go down the field and score. And then what happens?
He punts,
right?
A lot.
That's a punt. The drive ends in a punt. And I think in just those situations, if you just had a guy who was just a whole little bit lot better than Derek Carr, I think he could have won a lot of those games this past season. It's not. I'm not saying that quarterback
the game winner against the Jets. I mean, Marcus Mariota played the game of his life as a backup quarterback.
I don't know if we can attribute the game winner against the Jets to Derek Carr alone.
Well, he should have been the reason they lost because of that horrid throw.
So that's what I'm saying is that there have been a lot of situations in which Derek Carr has like had the opportunity to help the Raiders win a game, and he has not. That I think Deshaun Watson definitely could have.
He may have won them an additional game, but that's still what putting them in the playoffs this year.
Yeah,
would the Raiders be better with Deshaun Watson over Derek Carr?
It's not over. It's not like like it's job's not finished once you get Deshaun Watson. If we're the Raiders, hypothetically speaking, of course, but they're like that is just a much better place to be in than kind of like figuring out if you have to give Derek Carr another big contract or not. You know what I mean?
Great little segue there about it. It's not, it wouldn't be over. The job wouldn't be done. And I think John Gruden knows that too.
The job's not finished, man.
The job's not finished. And it doesn't matter if he tampers or not. Kevin has not heard this yet. And if you guys haven't heard, John Gruden went on the Chris Collinsworth podcast, which if you were to actually listen to that, I think you would just lose your mind. Like all your brain cells.
Is it the Pro Football Focus podcast?
It would be burned out of your mind. Yes. It looks like it's Pro Football Focus, DraftKings. We're going to listen to the audio. So Richard Sherman and John Gruden were on at the same time. Why? I don't know. That's the most random thing I think I've ever heard of in my life.
On this week's episode.
Basically, what I'm thinking is John Gruden wanted to be on with him to recruit him. And it was supposed to be subtle. It was supposed to be a subtle thing. It did not turn out to be very subtle. We're going to play the audio
We
here.
got a lot of stuff to talk about here now, not even to mention the fact that you now have a new defensive coordinator and Gus Bradley that we're all very excited about. And that's Richard's former coach. I know that. And
Chris Collinsworth, by the way, setting this up. He's lobbing him to tamper.
Should have been first Pro Bowl year, first All-Pro year.
And in case you still don't believe me, listen to Chris Collinsworth pitch this back.
Oh, here we go. Now, John, not that any of this could be construed as sending out a resume or anything. It's possible.
He's literally like teeing it up for
I
him.
know there's tampering rules out there, and I don't want to bring up anything that might create a problem for you because I know you've been fined a few shekels over the years.
I've been fined. I've been punished very hard.
Get him a microphone.
But Richard Sherman, if you are a free agent, which there is a rumor you are, we are looking for an alpha presence in our secondary.
Oh my gosh, man!
Somebody that can play this hawk-free press technique.
He's laying out the whole scheme.
Available and interested, maybe you and I can get together at some point off here.
Oh, dude, come on! Like I love John Gruden, and the league was expected to respond to this, and they said no comment. So they do not care what John Gruden does. That is tampering, man. That is the blatant, man.
That is amazing. That is amazing because the league year is not over yet. He's still a contracted employee of the San Francisco 49ers.
He's not even a free agent.
He's not on the free agent market whatsoever at the moment. And Gruden was just like, "Hey man, you want to come be a Raider?
Here's the scheme we're gonna have on.
Here's where I see you fitting in with our defense, Richard Sherman, member of another football team."
All right, well that's tampering.
That was incredible.
Should the league punish the Raiders for this?
Who cares, man? Who cares?
Look, dude, just because it was on a podcast, do you think this kind of stuff doesn't happen literally as soon as the season ends?
That's what I'm saying. It's going to happen. It happens anyway. These guys all text each other. And I don't think that one free agent is, unless they play quarterback, one free agent doesn't really it doesn't hold the same weight that it does in the NBA.
No, it really doesn't too. I think tampering in and of itself is just silly. Waiting 2 days, waiting 2 weeks is going to make all the difference in the world.
Like, what's the NBA equivalent to tampering with Richard Sherman? Like tampering with
going on the Woj pod or something like that.
No, but I'm saying,
it's skill based.
Yeah, it's like
Richard Sherman was good, but
that's
he's
what I'm
not
saying.
Like a premier.
That's what I'm saying. It's like tampering with Rudy Gay.
Yeah.
Or tampering with Bobby Portis like the Knicks did last year.
Plus, it's hilarious. It's
funny.
That's one of the funniest sound bites ever. So, look, will the Raiders get punished for this? No, because money, and John Gruden sells whatever the NFL wants. Essentially, like he's
an entertaining figure.
Yeah.
It's someone they can put on TV.
Just like how the James Harden trade happened, in my opinion. Like, you have a guy who found that he had cancer on his kidney. That is that's a failed physical, dude. Me and my dad were talking about this. I'm like, look, is he can he jump? Can he still shoot a basketball? Yes. He is not okay physically, dude.
He can't play.
That is a failed physical as far as I'm concerned. How many trades have you seen that say pending physical?
I think
all of them.
I just think they wanted to do Karras a solid.
No, they wanted to. He could have had the surgery in Brooklyn, dude. That trade happened because
they could have avoided the trade. They could have avoided the trade.
Yes, that's what's supposed to happen.
Figured out what was going on.
Yeah,
but I think that is dependent on the team that that affects. You know what I mean? So it was at the Pacers' discretion whether the Pacers could have avoided the trade. that is
I'm
definitely,
putting on my tin hat, bro. They said we will pay you X amount of
I'm
dollars
saying
if
that's
you let James
definitely-
Harden go to the Brooklyn
I'm
Nets.
saying there's definitely grounds to void the trade over the whole Karis LeVert physical situation.
It should
But
be
I think
automatic.
I think it was on the Pacers. Like it was discretionary for the Pacers. So
Yeah. Well, we're gonna have. Oh shoot, man! You want to talk about Nick Saban? Or you want to talk some NBA
let's talk
basketball?
some NBA.
All right,
Nick
well-
Saban makes me sick.
We're going to talk about, if we have time after this topic, we have like 10 minutes left, so we may have time to circle back around, but he did some recruiting stuff. Anyways, we're going to go and talk about the All-Star game, which is apparently happening in the NBA.
Bad.
Pretty bad. And you want to know how it's really bad? Because I'm going to play a soundbite here. And this is what the face of the NBA, LeBron James, had to say about the All-Star game. The guy who will literally probably pick the teams. This is what he said on the post game after
I'm
their.
sure it's glowing.
Yeah, he's actually really loves the All-Star game. Really excited it's going to happen.
71 days. I have zero energy and zero excitement about an All-Star game this year. I don't even understand why we're having an All-Star game. But it's the agreement that the Players Association and the league came about. Short off season for myself and my teammates was 71 days. And then coming to the season, we were told that we were not having an All-Star game, so we had a nice little break. 5 days from the 5th to the 10th. An opportunity for me to kind of recalibrate for the second half of the season. My teammates as well, some of the guys in the league, and then they throw an All-Star game on us like this and just breaks that all the way up. So, pretty much kind of a slap in the face.
Pretty much a slap to the face.
I know. Okay, so I know you have your I know you like to punch up on LeBron sometimes, just to humble him a little bit.
Yeah.
But this is a legitimate grievance, I feel like.
Oh no, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say, I'll be fair, man. This is wild, especially because LeBron was unhappy about the start of the NBA. To that, I was
He didn't even want to start.
I was like,
Yeah.
all right, you should play. Most teams had not played in a really long time, so
Sure.
I think that's fair. But for them, I think it's fair to say, okay, we'll give you the rest if you start this season early. That's kind of was the negotiation
That was
part
the
of
thing. It was it was supposed to be yeah. I understand that we have to start the season earlier, and that means some teams get a shorter offseason, and that sucks. But we are going to try and make it up for you by trying to give you a week off to recover and all of that during the All-Star game. Nope, we need money. We want money. That's all that this is, because it's not safe. No one's particularly asking for the All-Star game this year, and so there's no actual reason to do this other than the league has been hemorrhaging money, and it's just yeah, it is what it is, man. You gotta just take the L, take the financial L, as so many people have during this pandemic, and just move forward, man. Stop building bad will with your players, because that's pretty much all that has been done by the commissioner's office during the entire this entire COVID saga of the NBA.
No, yeah, Adam Silver cares about the dollar amount. This is all. There's no reason to have this All-Star game other than money. And that's just kind of disrespectful to the league, especially because of how flexible I think the players have been. I criticize them for their political stuff, but that was what they believe and that's what they did. So I'm not going to go all the way on them on that. I think it could have hurt the league a little bit, but still, for them to be we're going to make a compromise and then just rip the rug underneath them. This was decided a week ago. They were like, hey, maybe we should have the All-Star game. And probably was let's not have the All-Star game. And they're like, oh, okay, we're going to have the All-Star game immediately. It's also in Atlanta, by the way, which is one of the worst cities for COVID. If one player gets COVID from this, the season is ruined.
And also, it's Atlanta. They're not going to stay inside. It's Atlanta. That's all I'm going to say on the situation. It is Atlanta. Just think about that. If you don't know why that's a problem, you should do some research on why that could potentially be a problem when you're supposed to have players quarantining and stuff like that. And so it's just, if I'm an NBA player, I'm just where do I stand with the league? Because they are repeatedly asking me to risk my health by traveling during a global pandemic, and now the assurances that they promised me in order to facilitate a basketball season, a somewhat normal NBA season during COVID. The assurances that they were promised are now disappearing. So how am I supposed to feel if I am a player in this league and I feel like I'm a player that has some sway in the league, Chris Paul or Kyrie or Kevin Durant or someone like that? How am I supposed to feel? It's they truly it doesn't seem like they care.
It's getting worse. If you guys don't know, in tonight's game in the Brooklyn Nets, they were playing the Toronto Raptors. Kevin Durant didn't show up for tip-off and was like, excuse me, what's going on here? They were apparently it was for contact tracing. And they're like, all right, you're good to go, bro. Like, go out there.
Kevin Durant does.
We figured it out.
Yeah.
And he went out there. He played a significant portion of the first half. And then they pull him again in the middle of the game for whatever reason.
So I was talking about this before we went on the air. And I know we only have a few minutes left, but this is the one thing I want to like go out on. If it comes back, and we haven't been able to check since, but if it comes back that Kevin Durant has COVID, it's highly unlikely because he already had it. But if it does come back that he has COVID and he played in that game, somebody has to get fired. Adam Silver might legitimately have to resign, dude, because that is almost an incomprehensible oversight, in my opinion. And that's just like the only explanation you can have for me is that they just didn't really care enough.
Well, gosh, a lot of the problem, and they've already had this issue once, and I think it was already a fireable offense. Seth Curry luckily had not gone into the game at that point, but he was sitting at the end of the bench for the 76ers earlier this season. He tested positive like at this tip-off before he had checked in. So there's already been a really bad situation. Now, Jonas Valanciunas was also pulled in the middle of the game, but that wasn't reported on as much because Memphis is the smallest market in the NBA and everything like that. But they got to figure something out. What happened was, I think, in my opinion, they added 4 new positions per NBA team for COVID stuff, like contact tracing, someone does masks, someone does social distancing. But instead of these NBA teams hiring people for these positions, they just said, hey, you guy who does like bandages and stuff, you who does injuries, you also have this responsibility to do COVID. You also have this responsibility to do contact tracing. We're asking too much of NBA teams to make this happen. And why at this point in the season, there are still like parts of the game where people are being pulled in the middle of it. That is a huge issue, and it should be solved by All-Star break. We are here at All-Star break very soon.
There should just be a 100%, like we should know for a fact that all of the players on the floor right now do not have COVID. That is like the bare minimum of what should be done. And whatever has to happen in order to best have that assurance at all times needs to be done by the league. And it absolutely baffles I'm just at a complete loss for words at how that has just not been the case throughout this season. Like we have had guys get pulled in the middle of games. We have gotten guys pulled right before games. We've had guys test positive, after, not test positive after games, but and again, they have done, their COVID numbers have dropped steadily, but this is still an issue in that, if you don't keep up these practices that are supposed to help prevent the spread, it's going to keep happening. It's going to get worse too. So there has to be a fundamental change around how the NBA approaches this, because they can't just keep relying on the fact that Shams tweets every week that there's 0 COVID cases, there's 0 positives. It's
propaganda, man.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah, they're trying to change the narrative. He's a pawn for them.
They're this stuff clearly doesn't work. We're clearly kind of exposing people to COVID because of holes in our system that we've developed for this. But Shams said there was no positive, so I guess
it's okay, man.
I guess it's all right.
Look at that positivity rate. We're killing it. We have time for one more topic, and I have a quick topic here.
Right, what did Nick Saban do?
Well, that's way too long. We're gonna have to go over that next week. But we're gonna keep it in the NBA, and I'm just gonna say this right now. I'm putting on my tin hat. It's been implanted in our minds and from the league office that LeBron James is gonna win MVP this year. I'm not saying he's having a bad season, but then whatever, I listen to every show, everyone's like, LeBron's gonna win MVP. He had a better season last year, in my opinion. He led the league in assists. We weren't talking about him winning MVP last year, and now suddenly it's been you know how in the 50s they used to have half frames or quarter frames of Coke images to where people want Coke after they watch movies? Somewhere in some sort of television programming of watching basketball, they just flash images of LeBron James hoisting the MVP
the
trophy.
guy in when you're playing Mortal Kombat, that guy who just pops up on the screen and goes, whoop-dee. That's LeBron.
I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm telling you, man, this is so weird that the narrative has started, and I don't know who started it. It wasn't me. I know he's in the top 3, but is he the runaway right now? Absolutely not.
No. Definitely LeBron is always in the MVP conversation, first of all. But I think I don't think I've seen as much of LeBron MVP talk as you have, But I do know that what I've seen is based around like his per 36 numbers. Apparently his per 36 numbers are like through the roof for his career. But personally, Kevin Durant is running away with it
right now. And I'm just going to keep it with another football song. This is the LT Style Electric Glide. I don't know, man. Don't judge me, all right? And that's going to do it for another edition of the Delivering Sports Show. Really appreciate everyone for listening. Really love the social media comments today. That was a new, really exciting thing. So appreciate that, guys. Thank you for joining the show, Kevin. And we will catch you next time. Same Friday, many more Fridays, many more Delivering Sports shows.
My dance, I get it, my stance. I read the defense, I read the defense, I read the defense, I read the defense. Now sidestep, 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 sidestep. Now catch that pass, catch that pass, catch that pass, catching that pass. Now throw the ball, throw that thing. Now celebrate. Hey, mom, wave to your mom, wave to your mom. She's in the stands.
The world famous radio shopping show weekday on 1400 KSHP North Las Vegas and KSHP.com.